Okay, so in the last video, we got everything to work. If we jump into Unreal, we play this, we step in the trigger, the door opens. Then we can go through the door. When we get away from the trigger, the door closes. But if I stand right on the border and I do this, the door starts to open and close and open and close, and I kind of mess around with it. I mean, it depends on what kind of game you're making, but usually you don't see that kind of behavior in games. It makes the door look really weird if it starts doing that. It just doesn't feel like a professionally made game. It doesn't feel polished if you just leave the door like that. So there's a few things that we can do. Now, we know that the door takes 2 seconds to open. All right. So what we can do is we could set up a delay. We could tell Unreal, hey, look, door's opening when you step in, right? But I don't like you closing the door immediately when I step out of the trigger. So what I would prefer for you to do, Unreal, is for you to just wait a while, just a few seconds. If the door's opening or whatever, just wait a few seconds before you decide to close it. And there's probably about 50 different ways that we can tell Unreal how to do this. I'm going to choose the simplest, easiest way just to move on here real quick. We can use something called a delay function. And these are awesome. I love using delay functions because they let you control the timing of different things. And this seems or may sound at first like a really arbitrary, simple, kind of dumb thing. You can delay stuff, but when you start to chain this stuff together, being able to control the timing of these different events that are shooting off really can help you create much more elaborate and complicated looking gameplay that's much more or looks more complicated than it actually is. So what I'll do is I'll take this trigger volume right here, drag it out into empty space, and I'm going to start to type in delay. We have two types of delay. We have a regular delay, and then we have a retriggerable delay. I'm going to use the retriggerable delay. And when I do that, it automatically sticks itself in between the timeline door movement node and my trigger volume end overlap node, which is pretty cool. So I didn't have to go and plug all that stuff myself. It just did it automatically, which is awesome. Okay. So the way that this trigger works is pretty simple. We can come over here to this duration value and we can type in the number of seconds basically that we want this thing to get delayed. So we know that the door takes about 2 full seconds to go from being closed to completely open. So what we can do is maybe set a delay of 2 seconds. I mean, that's not right or wrong. It's just an arbitrary number, right? So what we can do is hit F7 real quick, jump back in, play, go into our trigger, door opens, step out. The door doesn't immediately close. It waits a little while before it closes. So we just got rid of that weird behavior from before. So now the door seems a little bit more, oh, right there it actually is trying to open. And the reason it's doing that is, let's see why that is, stepping in, stepping out. Basically, this isn't the most complicated network. So what happens when we step in and the door starts to open, we step out, we trigger this delay right here, and every time we step in it's getting re-triggered over and over again. So let me see if I can fix that strange kind of quirky behavior. What we can do instead is, I don't want to overcomplicate this thing. Let me instead go here and I'm going to delete this guy. I'm going to take this guy. I'm going to get myself just a regular delay. I'm going to see if this one works a little bit better. I'm going to reverse that. Duration 2 seconds. 2 seconds might be too short actually. What I'm going to do is I'm going to increase that to about 4 seconds. because I felt like when I was looking at that, it was just the door was still closing too quick, even though it's 2 seconds. 2 seconds is really fast, so 4 seconds might work a little bit better. Let's come over here, hit play. Let's run in here, door opens, I'm going to step out, and then the door is going to close. Let's step in, door is going to immediately open. Okay, so it seems to be working a lot better now. Door's going to open. Alright, so this is working really well. Unfortunately, every time we step in, the door is going to try to open, and that is causing some kind of quirky behavior. We're going to fix that. We're just not going to fix it right now. We're going to come back to that later. Alright? Right now, I'm going to change things up a bit. I'm going to kind of break what we already have and rebuild it a different way. One of the cool things about Blueprint is there's so many nodes and combinations of possible nodes that you can actually set up 5, 6, 7, 10 different node networks that essentially do the same thing. They're just different methods of doing the same thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at a different way of doing the same thing. And when I say the same thing, I'm talking about the door moving and basically opening and closing the door. So this network is pretty simple. We just have the door mesh variable, and we're connecting timeline to this set relative location, and that's pretty much it. That's the whole thing right there. What we're going to do though is we're going to look at a different method of doing the same exact thing. And it's not really about a right or wrong way. They both do the same thing, and you're going to see that right now. But it's a different method of working that might be more beneficial or not to you. But I'll show you this way too, just because it's pretty cool, and it's going to let me teach you something different here. That could end up being pretty useful for you later down the road when you're working on your own game projects and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to my blueprint panel, and we have the ability to create a few different things. We can create functions and variables. Those are kind of the two big ones that you're going to probably be using the most. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a new variable, and I'm going to call this new variable door door closed. And I'm going to set the variable data type down here, and we can see we have a few different data types. If you're totally new to programming, you're probably not familiar with any of this stuff, so don't worry about it for now. Just a quick, rough, really fast overview of this stuff. These are the different data types that we can use with the Unreal Engine. And believe it or not, the majority of game engines out there, and even 3D software, like say Maya, Softimod, stuff like that, they all use these different data types. So bool, which is short for Boolean, and we also saw vectors, which are basically a 3D position in space, an X, Y, and Z value. So that's what we actually want to pick. So I'm going to pick vector, and it's going to turn yellow. And you're going to see it over here yellow. I'm also going to go down to category, and I'm going to place all this stuff in the door stuff category. And there it is. I want another variable. I'm going to call this one door open. And I'm going to go down here, category, door stuff. There we go. So I've got these two variables right here. And what I can do is I can use these variables to actually hold some kind of information about the door being open or the door being closed. So right now I can't do anything. I need to compile the blueprint, so I will. Alright, let me go back to the defaults menu over here. this window. Remember this window? We pretty much looked at this for about 5 seconds a really long time ago and never came back to it. Now is when it's going to come in useful. So we noticed that after compiling the blueprint, we have this category called door stuff, and then we have these two variables, the door closed and the door open. Now, we know that when the door is closed, it should be at position 0, 0, 0. We know that when the door is open, it should be set to about negative 300, right, in the z-axis. So let's go ahead and type in negative 300. And what I'm going to do is jump back to my graph. And if I choose door closed, I see it's got a default value down here, and it's set to 0, 0, 0. If I choose door open, it's set to 0, 0, negative 300. And what I want to do is I want to take those two variables and I want to just drag and drop them into my graph. And I'll use a get node because I want to make sure that I get their default values, which for the door closed is again 0, 0, 0. Door open is 0, 0, negative 300. And I'm going to take this lerp vector. I'm going to plug the closed in position A and the open in position B. Okay? Now, I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. In the next one, we're going to see how to hook this stuff up and make it work.